All right, mine's the fam. We're gonna do a little study with me, and last study day because it's been a really busy week was Wednesday this week. So it feels like it's been a millennium since Wednesday. So charge on the phone right now as well. We're at 60% battery, so not too bad. Try and prop you guys up right here so I can see hopefully that works. I need something to lean you guys against for your tripod. Try. Whoa. Like that. Damn it. I'm trying to get you guys to be right here or something. It's hard to keep this up. Well, might have to go like see that. I have to put you guys like right there. Ah, that works. That'll have to work for now. Yo, what's going on, Nina? Welcome. Got some under eye pads right now. I know this is an awkward angle, but I need to. Let's try this. Let's try this. I'll try and angle this a little bit. That's a little better, kind of. Hang on. It's just because my phone got to charge while we stream. So, and I will read at the same time. Okay, it's a little bit better angle. So yeah, so we're gonna try and get like close to an hour in. As long like I was up at 7 a.m. this morning. I worked all day till 4. Sorry, yeah, I was up at 7, worked 8:30 to 4 p.m. Pacific, and now I want to get some studying in. And again, we ended on Wednesday, chapter 17-11. So we're on the second to last chapter. I want to bulldoze the rest of the reading as much as I can this tonight and this weekend, and then I want to book the exam and then study for the exam. Quizzes, practice exams to prepare for the actual exam, which I'll show you guys how I do that, how I study for exams and stuff like that, which is it'll be super helpful. So, but yeah, let's begin with our reading 17-11. Nana, appreciate you being here. Share this with someone else. If you want to study, you got some reading to do, whatever the case may be. So let's begin. So, and I got my under eye pads right now. So anytime you got stuff to do, use it. You double up on the time. Use it to get your skincare at the same time as you do your chapter reading. When you're studying, do like figure out what works for you. But it helps motivate me. And then I'm gonna put on the binaural beats again because it helps me get in the zone. So stay tuned. Okay. Okay. Here we go. 10 people tuning into this late night study session. I love it. Oh, why is it doing YouTube Shorts? I want binaural beats, please. What the hell? Oh, here it is. We're at the very bottom. Okay. Got it. Got it. I don't think you guys can hear that, but I've got the binaural beats on. Let's begin. And once I get the battery up a little more, then I'll probably be able to show you guys and angle you on this better. Here we go. So again, this chapter is on what was the chapter 17 on mutual fund dealer regulations. So it's about regulations surrounding mutual funds. Here we go. The National Registration Database. An application for registration is filed electronically on the National Registration Database, Form NRD 33-109F4, with the appropriate fee. National Instrument 31-103 sets out all the requirements for initial and continuing registration. These requirements include, but are not limited to, the following. Mutual fund dealing representatives may only be employed or sponsored by a single mutual fund dealer. Mutual fund dealing representatives are not permitted to carry on other forms of employment without the prior approval of the appropriate securities administrator and SRO, securities regulatory organization, of which their firms are members. Other forms of employment are often referred to as outside activities or outside business activities. It is not uncommon for a mutual fund sales representative to carry an additional license, an insurance or mortgage broker license that allows them to provide other financial services with the investing public. However, Because of the potential for client confusion or conflicts of interest, registrants must declare any additional outside activity or employment to their dealer for proper analysis and approval before engaging in them. Additionally, business titles such as financial planner or designations that claim special expertise with elderly investors must could be perceived as misleading to clients. They must therefore undergo additional scrutiny at the dealer and regulatory level. Applicants must also complete a detailed registration application, setting out details of their past businesses, employment, and conduct, and agree that the securities administrators may obtain a copy of their criminal record if one exists from the RCMP, which is Royal Canadian Mounted Police. If you're in Canada, that's better. Oh, this thing. Sorry, my phone's trying to slide down, but we'll keep an eye on it. The registration application asks questions about the applicant and any companies with which the applicant has been associated, including any disciplinary actions against the applicant with regard to any government issued license to deal in securities or with the public in any other capacity requiring registration or licensing. Any disciplinary actions regarding an approval by any securities commission, SRO, or other similar regulatory body or professional body. Any past criminal convictions or current charges or indictments, any bankruptcies or proposals to correct creditors, any civil judgments or garnishments. So just so you know, if you are planning on getting into the financial service industry, if you did have a bankruptcy or a consumer proposal, it's called. Bankruptcy means you lost all your money from financial misfortune through through most of the time it's through financial mismanagement. And if that's the case, you may or may not be able to become a financial advisor because of that, because we are scrutinized in the financial services industry because we've got to represent our clients in the best light. And you have to explain, right? I don't know exactly how it works, but you do have to explain to the bank that you're going to be working for why you went bankrupt, why you have a consumer proposal, why your credit nosedived, right? Those kinds of things. They're going to ask you those questions, right? In the interview process, if anything comes up. Doesn't mean anything will come up, but those are things to consider if you're considering getting into the industry. You need to have a squeaky clean image. You need to have excellent credit. You need to manage your own money well, because how can you represent um, your own firm or the bank if you don't manage your own money well? You have to be financially disciplined with credit, with investing, right? Your own credit and investing, and helping your clients with their own credit. Um, Credit worthiness, credit eligibility, credit management, and financial management. So, just things to consider. Dual employment. Many provinces have issued policy statements permitting persons to be duly registered as dual employment, as mutual fund dealing representatives and life insurance agents. Okay, yeah. So yeah, sometimes you can have dual, so double registration for life licensing and financial planning, for example. There's one designation called Chartered Life Underwriter, which means that's a designation that I think you can write life insurance policies plus, let's say you're a certified financial planner, CFP. So that means you can sell financial products, right? Mutual funds. I don't think stock. I'd have to double check that if that's in their scope of practice, but um, and insurance. So financial services products and insurance, if you have both those designations. A mutual fund representative who works for or is sponsored by a member of CIRO may have and continue in another gainful occupation, provided that CIRO and the Securities Regulatory Authority in the jurisdiction do not prohibit from engaging in such activity. The representative's dealer is aware and approves of the other occupation. The representative obtains written approval from the dealer prior to engaging in the activity. The other gainful occupation must not bring CIRO, its members, or the mutual fund industry into disrepute. Clear written disclosure is provided to clients that any activities related to the other occupation are not the business or responsibility of the dealer. And again, if you're new here, I go live daily for meditations. workouts, meals, meal planning, meal prep, and study with me like this. So hit subscribe if you're new. The dealer must establish and maintain procedures to ensure continuous service to clients and to address any potential conflicts of interest. CIRO rules indicate that all securities related business must be conducted through the member, with exceptions for the sale of deposit instruments not on account of the dealer, member, and the activities of bank employees, conducted in accordance with the Bank Act. Securities related business means any business or activity that constitutes trading or advising in securities in any jurisdiction in Canada. 17-12. Transfer and termination of registration. A dealing representative's registration is automatically suspended as soon as he or she ceases to be employed or sponsored by a mutual fund dealer or other type of registered dealer. The dealer must notify the applicable securities administrator of the termination of the employment and the reason for termination within 5 business days. Before a dealing representative's registration can be reactivated, notice in writing must be received by the applicable securities administrators from another registered dealer of the employment or sponsorship of the dealing representative by that other dealer within 6 months. Right. The reactivation of the registration must be approved by the securities administrators before a dealing representative can act on behalf of his or her dealer. If the securities administrators does not receive a request for reactivation of the dealing representative's registration and it's transferred to another dealer within the permitted period of time, the registration will lapse. This period is generally 6 months. If the registration lapses, the dealing representative must reapply for registration. Termination of employment or sponsorship by a registered dealer includes transferring to another branch or office. Transferring to another branch or office of a registered dealer in another province or territory. If a dealing representative transfers to another province or territory, notice using the National Registration Database must be provided to the securities administrator in the new province or territory. Under no circumstances may a person sell mutual funds without having received confirmation of registration from the appropriate securities administrator, or continue to sell funds when registration has been suspended, terminated, or lapsed for any reason. Case study. Suitable for Sunil. Proper conduct is about more than the right products. Rania is an account manager at a major Canadian bank. She recently passed her investment funds course exam and is excited about providing clients with investment advice. Sunil is a client at Rania's bank. He recently received a $5,000 bonus from his employer. Sunil has his investment portfolio at the bank. He visits Rania's branch on his lunch break seeking investment advice for new funds. He is referred to Rania. During the meeting, Rania discusses Sunil's goals and reviews his investment objectives, time horizon, and risk tolerance. When he first sets up his investment account, Sunil was a conservative investor, as his investment knowledge was very basic, and he wants to learn more about taking on more risk in his portfolio. Since then, Sunil has increased his investment knowledge and is now more comfortable with risk and the long-term benefits provided by the growth potential of equities. After a lengthy discussion, Sunil and Rania agree that he is now a balanced investor. Rania recommends that Sunil change his existing portfolio from a conservative profile to a balanced one, and that he contributes his $5,000 to the newly balanced portfolio. Sunil is very pleased with the recommendation and is impressed with Rania's investment knowledge. Rania does not yet have access to the bank's investment platform, so she enlists the assistance of her peer, mutual fund representative Kumar, to execute the trade. Rania explains the situation to Kumar, and Kumar verbally confirms Sunil's comfort level with Rania's recommendation. Satisfied, he executes the trades, switching the existing funds and adding the new funds to the balanced portfolio. Sunil signs the trade confirmation, documents, and departs. Later that day, the branch compliance office, BCO, Terrence, calls Kumar to his office. He notes that the trades for Sunil have been flagged. for being in conflict with the client's Know Your Client, KYC, which shows him as a conservative investor who has purchased a balanced portfolio. Kumar explains that he confirmed the client's profile that was established by Rania, and then the client signed the trade confirmation that clearly showed the switch to the balance. Client signed the trade confirmation that clearly showed the switch to the balance portfolio and the new investment into the same portfolio. Suitable for Sunil. Proper conduct is about more than the right products. This is 7-13 now. Thanks. Terrence admonishes Kumar. First, admonishes. I don't know what the hell that means. Terrence admonishes Kumar. First, Kumar did not update the client's Know Your Client information and have the client sign the appropriate form that confirms the update. Second, Kumar did not conduct the investment discussion with the client himself, only taking Rania's word for it, and that the discussion was appropriately thorough as per proper procedures. He advises Kumar to update the client's Know Your Client and to have the client return immediately to sign the form. Terrence then meets with Rania and admonishes her. Admonish. Why would they use a word like that? Sounds like discipline. Her for providing investment advice and making mutual fund recommendations without being registered to do so. Rania states that she did everything properly, conducting a thorough review with the client. She notes that the client was happy with the recommendations. Terrence agrees that Rania completed the correct steps and that the mutual fund recommendation was appropriate for the client. However, despite passing the IFIC exam, she is not yet registered to sell mutual funds, and therefore it was not appropriate for her to provide any specific investment advice to the client and to make mutual fund investment recommendations. So that's another thing. There's a 90-day wait period once you pass your mutual funds exam and you're working at a financial institution. You have to wait 90 days before you can actually discuss mutual funds at all, because you have to go through their 90-day training program for the particular bank that you're working for. There's a 90-day time lag that you cannot discuss it. So, because you're newly registered, so you're waiting to be registered for that particular bank. So, although you passed your exam, you still need to be registered by that bank to be registered to sell mutual funds. And you're on a usually you have to do like a 90-day training program for their particular mutual funds, because every bank's mutual funds are different of what they offer. And access to different types of investments and all that kind of stuff. So it takes time. It's a time investment for sure. Where were we here? Yeah. So yeah. So she was right in she had the right steps, and she invested, and she did the right investment review with the client, but she wasn't yet registered. She passed her exam, but she wasn't registered yet. So she's got to be registered before she can discuss anything at all related to mutual funds. And you can't sell it until you're registered by your institution. How do representatives and dealers meet the Know Your Client rules? Here we go. On October 3rd, 2019, the CSA introduced amendments to National Instrument 31-103 with reforms to the requirements regarding conflicts of interest, Know Your Client suitability, Know Your Product, KYP, and relationship disclosure information. These reforms are collectively referred to as client-focused reforms, CFRs. The CFRs are a series of enhancements to existing security laws whose main purpose is to raise the standard of conduct across the securities industry, therefore, or thereby, ensuring that registered dealers and their dealing representatives always act in the best interest of the client. The CSA developed the CFRs based on the concept that client's interest must come first in the client representative relationship, so that representatives who are in the advisory role provide investment recommendations to clients, make suitable recommendations to their clients, in addition to increased assessment and disclosure requirements for conflicts of interest and relationship disclosure information. The CFRs amend the current Know Your Client requirements, upgrade suitability determination, and create a formal Know Your Product requirement that calls for more in-depth knowledge, product knowledge, assessment, and delivery at both the dealer and the client advisor relationship level. These changes support what the regulators refer to as enhanced suitability determination obligations. Canadian Investment Regulatory Organization, CIRO, actively participated with the CSA in the development of the CFR. What did I say CFR was? Client Focused Reform amendments, and made changes to the rules, policies, and guidance to align with the amendments and ensure a consistent and further harmonized approach to securities regulation in Canada. Applying due diligence to ensure that each investment recommendation is appropriate for the client is a fundamental industry obligation. This is the suitability obligation, and for regulators, it is critical that representatives appreciate, apply, and thoroughly document the components of suitability. The CFRs were phased during 2021. The key amendment and reforms introduced by the CFRs include a conflict of interest amendment that came into force on June 30th, 2021. Nice, it's almost been half an hour, might have found. Conflicts of interest. The amended rule requires firms and individuals to address material conflicts of interest in the best interest of the client. The CFRs outline how these conflicts are expected to be identified, documented, addressed, and disclosed. The remaining amendments came into force on December 31st, 2021. Know Your Client. The CFR set out an expanded list of information representatives must collect to meet their Know Your Client obligations. The basic premise is that if you don't really know your client, how can you recommend a suitable investment strategy? Representatives must also take reasonable steps to obtain the client's confirmation of the accuracy of any information collected. The amendments also have an expectation that clients' information be reviewed at minimum intervals every 36 months for currency and updated if the representative becomes aware of a significant change. Suitability. The CFRs highlight that representatives must put client interests first when making a suitability determination, along with know your client and know your product. Representatives are expected to have appropriate information to determine whether an investment is suitable for a client and puts the client's interest first. Know your product. The new Know Your Product obligation requires firms to take reasonable steps to understand any securities that are purchased and sold for or recommended to their clients. The CFRs require firms to have policies and procedures in place to properly assess, approve, and monitor all securities they make available to clients. Relationship disclosure. The CFRs expand the disclosure requirements to include letting clients know about potentially significant items related to investment products being offered, such as costs. The following sections focus on these rules in greater detail. Conflicts of interest. As part of the CFRs, the CSA proposed changes to conduct requirements to better align the interests of registrants, mutual fund sales representatives, with the interests of their clients. The goal is to improve outcomes for clients and make clear to them the nature and terms of their relationship with you as their trusted representative. Mutual fund dealers must develop and maintain policies and procedures to identify, disclose, and address existing and potential material conflicts involving clients. For any registrant or service provider of end clients, a conflict of interest will arise in any situation where a provider of a product or service has an interest that overlaps or diverges from that of the client being served. Effective June 30th, 2021, Part 13, National Instrument 31-103, required registered firms and individuals to identify, address, and disclose material conflicts of interest. You must address such conflicts in the best interest of your clients and provide guidance to explain when a conflict of interest is considered material. To comply with National Instrument 31-103, you must avoid material conflicts of interest if there are no appropriate controls available in the circumstances that would be sufficient to otherwise address the conflict in the best interest of the client. CFR. The CFR changes to the conflict. The CFR changes to the conflict provisions introduce several requirements to the existing conflict rules, as noted in National Instrument 31-103. It can be summarized as follows. Both firms, well, I'm almost hitting the wall, but we gotta keep going. Not bad. We're like halfway, just under halfway through this chapter, because I think it goes to 17-34 and we're 17-15 almost. Both firms and individual registrants acting on behalf of their firms must go through a process to identify material conflicts of interest that currently exist between a client of the firm or an individual acting on behalf of the firm. The material conflicts must be addressed in the best interest of the client. To the extent that such conflicts cannot be addressed in the best interest of the client, the material conflicts must be avoided. The firm must disclose any material conflicts of interest that may impact a client at the time of account opening, or in a timely manner if the conflict is identified at a later time. For each conflict identified, the disclosure provided to clients must be prominent, specific, and written in plain language, outlining the following matters: the nature and extent of the conflict in question, the impact and risk it may pose to the client, the way in which it has been or will be addressed. All right, 17-15. Probably honestly got another 5 minutes in me. So we'll see how many more pages we can do. We're hitting the wall. And it's 10:14 p.m. Pacific already. We've been studying since 9:45. Not bad. The CFR amendments specifically point out that it is not sufficient for a registrant to rely solely on verbal disclosure as a means to satisfy its obligations under the conflict provisions. Prompt, accurate client advisor meeting summary notes should be maintained in writing as evidence that these requirements have been adequately administered to the client in a timely manner. Additional guidelines or guidance regarding conflict of interest compliance can be found in the National Instrument 31-103 companion policy and on the CIRA website. Finally, individual registrants have similar obligations to those of the firm and must report conflicts to their firm promptly. And again, if you're new here and you're just tuning into the Mindset YouTube channel, I do study with me, workout with me, meditate with me, meal prep with me, workouts, etc. So hit that subscribe button if you're new and the like button if you like these kinds of lives. Know your client. Yeah. One more minute. All right, these under iPads are going off. These are colleges under iPads too. Oh yeah, look at that. You can see the outline. They're on there for a while. Looks good. Looks good. Wow. Beauty. That skin revitalized. All right. I'm honestly hitting a wall. And my voice is getting really raspy, and I like to read aloud. It helps me absorb it. So let's leave it there. 17 dash. This is dense too. It's all about regulation, talking about conflicts of interest, making sure you're not doing any outside activities without prior approval, all that jazz. And it's good stuff to know because if you ever plan on getting into the industry, it's rigorous. They scrutinize, they do background checks, credit checks, all of that stuff before you get hired. So if you're looking into getting financial services, it is a great industry. But just, know they look at everything. They look at, your prior history as as an employee, credit, conflicts of interest, of course, to make sure you're not doing anything shady because you want to make sure they want to make sure that you can represent their clients in the best light, and there's no perceived conflicts or current conflicts of interest. So we'll leave it there. 17-15. I'm going to try and get some more in tomorrow. I will get some more studying tomorrow. This is going to be smaller chunks of time because this is a dense chapter. Yeah. Oh, I don't like that. There's like something like stains on my computer. I don't like that. Like little water droplet splotches. Okay. So we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna push this till tomorrow. And I'm gonna leave it there. Man. Sunday tomorrow. Okay. I'm gonna say maybe after, because I like to do my meditation in the morning, so I'll probably might do some right after the meditation, depending on the time. I'll leave it there. Excuse me. Got a lot to do tomorrow. Got a lot to do tomorrow, Mindset Fam. But we doing good. 17-15. So close. I just want to see when it recommends I study planner. Let's just quickly see that. I think it's study planner, domains and exam structure. So then we can start getting into the real studying. Why you took, why you look like Bob does sports, decided to be a software bro. Bob does sports. I don't know who that is, but I'll take it. Not a software bro either. I've got MJ in the background. I got Arnold right here. Just doing some studying in my office. It just looks like I'm nerding out because I got my MacBook. Uh, hmm. Okay, whereabouts are we? Hmm. Okay, so we'll be booking our exam soon. Mindset fam. All right, ciao, mindset fam. Studying for mutual funds. Yeah, to get relicensed to get back into banking. Because I used to be in banking before, and then I swapped industries, got into insurance, and then I like banking way more after being in insurance. So, um, and there's more growth. There's more growth opportunities. So, yeah. So yeah. So if you like, study with me. Oh, excuse me. It's late. If you like, study with me, workouts, meditations, that kind of thing. I post about all that kind of stuff. And again, the name of the course that I'm taking is uh, Canadian Securities Inc. (CSI), and then investment funds course for mutual funds. I'd owe money. Interesting. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. I'd like, I'd be curious to see. I had some shares in a mutual fund, but every couple months I'd check it and I'd be owing money somehow. You wouldn't be owing money, you'd be in the red if because they fluctuate in value, but you wouldn't be owing money. That doesn't make sense unless you had a margin account and you were borrowing against it. Hey, neat, welcome back. I'm actually just about to head to bed, but appreciate being here. Um, so that I would question that. Yeah, Robbie. Um, if you're owing money. Yeah, yeah, you're my greatest fan. That's awesome. You and Nana. All right. I will be doing another study me session tomorrow. I got to 17-15 of my reading, but I'm hitting a wall. I worked today and then I'm super, super tired. It was growing, no negative value, no borrowing. I do remember something about reinvesting profits, but that would require selling shares and buying more. Okay. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but uh, hmm. Yeah, I would have to see the portfolio for myself to know, but um like for example, like I'm invested in index funds. They're exchange traded funds. that I follow the index, so they trade like a stock. It is a mutual fund, and I'm invested in different ones. They're all growth oriented, higher risk because I like higher risk because I'm younger. I'm only age 33. And I've got a long time before retirement, so I've got mine set up as a emerging markets, international, US, and Canada. And then I've got gold. So five different holdings. Okay. Tech stocks, right on. Um, and mine has been pretty much like growing well. They're invested in like a ton of like stocks in each index because you're getting exposure to like in each of these indexes like 6,000, 500, 3,000, 300, like depending on the type of oh, neat. I was doing these collagen under eye like an eye mask, like under eye pads. I'll be doing a full face mask tomorrow, but I can't talk with it on, so that's why I don't like to wear it unless I'm like meditating, so I'll probably do that tomorrow. But but yeah, like uh yeah, we'll talk more about it tomorrow, but appreciate being here, Robbie. But yeah, there'll be more. We're gonna be studying the whole course all over again to prepare for the exam. So I'll be teaching you guys all my through all my readings to review all that. All right, nighty night. Don't let the bed bugs bite, and may be happy, may be healthy, may be at peace. Peace, mindset fam. Appreciate you guys being here. I'll see you in the AM for another stream for meditation and study with me.